Well, big-time saber rattling from North Korea today as its top military chief says the rogue nation is armed with powerful modern weapons that could target the United States. The North is also threatening to reduce its neighbor to the south, South Korea, to ashes. All this amid fears the North could conduct another nuclear test very soon. So a lot of news coming out of North Korea. Jim Walsh is an expert of that area of the world. He's an international security expert at MIT's Security Studies program. Jim, nice to have you back with us.
Always good to be with you, Jenna.
You know, we just talked a few weeks ago about a failed missile test out of North Korea, and now we're getting, and let me just quote him correctly, this military top military chief saying that the Korean People's Army is armed with powerful modern weapons that can defeat the U.S. imperialists at a single blow. You know, what are we to believe of that?
Well, you know, I love North Korean rhetoric. It's still one of the last bastions of over-the-top rhetoric. We hear a lot of that, and then the question is, when do they mean it, when do they don't? But in this case, you know, if I was a betting man, I'd bet that they probably will have a nuclear test. You never know, but I would say yes. Why? It fits the pattern of history. In the past, they've had a missile test followed by a nuclear test. That missile test did not go well, so this is a way for them to recoup and save some face. They're talking about modern weapons. You know, that can be code for nuclear weapons. And then there have been some reports of activity at the nuclear test site, and then a North Korean official telling Reuters there would be a test. Yeah, that up all together, and I think it's more likely than not that there will be one sometime soon.
So if they do have a test, what does that mean to us?
You know, I really don't think it means that much. You know, we'll have to look at what the data says. We'll have seismic data. We'll have air samples. The last two nuclear tests, I don't think went very well for them. I think this is more about their internal needs than external stuff. I think the real danger here is not that they're suddenly going to be able to go from a test to a weapon and they're going to launch it. The danger is South Korea is going to feel compelled to respond to the test. They may feel compelled to respond to that, and then someone can make a mistake. There can be an accident, a miscalculation, and then you could have a shooting war that starts that no one really wants. That's my concern. Not so much the nuclear itself as the response tit for tat back and forth that might cause a problem.
It's a good time to remind our viewers that we have 30,000 troops there, right at the DMZ. So we are in the crossfire, so to say, of that type of unexpected or accidental, and that's a tough word to use, but an accidental conflict between the two sides. Do you see it really coming to a boiling point right now? If you compare your work over the last several years, Jim, how does this time with North Korea seem the same or different than other times?
Great question. I think it's different because there's a leadership change in North Korea. So you have young Kim Jong-un, doesn't have a lot of job experience, is in the middle of trying to consolidate his position. And at the same time, in South Korea, it's undergoing a presidential election. So there are a lot of uncertainties at a time when there are tensions. That's why I say it might be easy for people to make a mistake or a miscalculation. So I do think the job is really to get through these next couple of years without an incident, without an error, because leadership in both countries is going to be inexperienced.
And, of course, we're in the midst of a presidential election as well, so that adds a whole other dynamic into this. Let's just broaden out this conversation a little bit. We also have news out of Pakistan today that Pakistan successfully launched an upgraded ballistic missile. That's in response, some say, to India's rocket test just last week. So you have India and Pakistan testing missiles. You have North Korea testing missiles on the verge of a nuclear test. You have Iran working towards a nuclear weapon. How do all of these things work together, Jim, in your mind?
Yeah, I think they're separate. They each happen in their own little domain. I think the North Korea, South Korea, they're going to do what they do regardless of what the rest of the world is about. The India and Pakistan thing is a little more complex because essentially it's a three-player game. India launches this missile as a message not to Pakistan, but to China. They tested an intercontinental ballistic missile capable of carrying a nuclear warhead that can reach where? Beijing.
Right.
So the Chinese are paying attention to that. But then if the Indians do that, the Pakistanis feel the need to respond because they're enemies with Pakistan. They've fought 3 wars with India, Pakistan has.
It works, doesn't it, Jim? I mean, it gets everyone's attention. We show the video. We're showing the India video right now. So when we bring these conversations back home, you know, we're in a plan to disarm quite a bit of our nuclear weapons. And I know we've talked in the past, and you've said that is something on the table we should look at. But, you know, should we remind the world as well about our military strength?
Well, I think people know we're the overwhelming, dominant military power on the planet Earth. We spend more on our military than the next 10 countries combined, and those 10 are our allies. So I think there's no question in governments and capitals around the world that the U.S. is the #1 military power on Earth, bar none, and #2 is not close. I do agree with you, Jenna, though, that as not Iran, but as India and Pakistan continue this back and forth, it does make it more difficult to talk about reducing nuclear weapons. Now, India and Pakistan are in a good place right now. The leaders of both countries met this month, but you don't know how long that's going to last. You know, a terrorist attack launched from Pakistan into India could change all of that overnight. So I worry about North Korea, South Korea, and most folks think if there's going to be a real nuclear war sometime soon, it's India and Pakistan, because they're cheek to jowl and they don't like each other, and there's a bad history there.
And we don't know the total number of nuclear weapons in Pakistan, but we know it's much higher than and we believe it's much higher than North Korea. So it's interesting perspective today, Jim, as we take in and consider all these different countries and their moves. Nice to have you back with us to work through that all, and look forward to having you back.
Look forward to it as well. Thank you.